I always mention how the West likes to label Serbia as a country that is unsafe. And today we're going to dive into an article and then looking at some real-time statistics about how Serbia relates to the rest of the world. And you're going to want to hear this because you're going to be surprised when it comes to the results. Now, this article comes from Travel and Tour World, and it starts off with a headline saying that Morocco joins Brazil, Peru, UK, France, Serbia, India, and Chile as US issues new travel alert, what it means for the tourism sector. And I've done a video in the past on this about how, you know, Serbia has been issued travel warnings by Canada Embassy, the United States Embassy, about how they should not come here because of, fighting, protests, so on and so forth, and how everything in the West is geared to keeping you in a bubble and making sure that daddy government ensures that you're safe instead of you yourself going to explore countries such as Serbia and finding out for yourself, because how dare you find out that countries such as Serbia and some of these other ones that they have in this list that I've actually been to are much safer than what these legacy brand countries such as Canada and the United States like to portray themselves as. So let's go into this article real quick. So this article starts on with a US update. It's global travel advisory. Morocco has joined Brazil, Peru, UK, France, Serbia, India, and Chile on a growing list of countries flagged for heightened security risk. The latest alert stems from escalating threats such as terrorism, violent crime, and civil unrest across these destinations, with tourist hotspots now under reviewed scrutiny. The advisory raises serious concerns. We're going to make sure we leave serious in there. Serious concerns about traveler safety and casts uncertainty over tourism recovery efforts in some of the world's most visited regions. The United States has updated its global travel advisory, issuing fresh warnings for several popular international destinations, including Morocco, Brazil, Peru, Serbia. I actually don't recall Serbia ever being a popular tourist area or destination, should I say, by the United States people. A lot of the people you simply mentioned, doesn't matter if it's Canada or the United States, that you're going to visit, or a lot of times that I go into networking events that are online and globalized and go into these ones that are in North America and I say I'm in Serbia, a lot of don't even know where that is and can't even put a finger on the map. They're either thinking Siberia, which is in Russia, Syria, or because they hear that on the news. But a lot of them don't even know where Serbia is. And it's funny that a lot of the clients that we're working now with nowadays are from the United States, and a lot of them are coming from California, Wisconsin, New York, and Ohio is another one that we're working with. And a lot of them are actually educating themselves and finding out what Serbia's actually like. And a lot of these people have not even been to Serbia. They've heard about, we're living in an age of information of how good Serbia is compared to what we have in the West. And they're just simply packing up their bags and moving here. I simply had this morning, I was at the grocery store picking up some items and I got a random phone call on my phone, and of course I picked it up, and it's a gentleman in his 70s who is one of the two individuals that have moved from Wisconsin, came here, brought his car over, and he says, I'm done with the United States. It's gone downhill. It's not what it is or what it was before. And he's in his 70s and he's looking to move into Serbia, asking for rentals and how he could stay here, and made that move in his 70s. Moving on into this article here, the revisited alert heightens the alarming uptick in terrorist threats, violent crimes, and civil unrest, casting a long shadow over tourism recovery efforts in these regions. Now let's move over because this channel is talking about Serbia, about what they have to say about Serbia here. Security risk across Europe. In Serbia, violent related to organized crime and sports hooliganism poses a risk, especially during large-scale events. That's the same advice that they had on their embassy website. And, organized crime isn't something that is out and about here in Serbia. If you keep your nose clean, you're gonna be in safe hands. Just stay out of the mafia's, business, and you'll be fine as an individual traveling into Serbia. But what's funny is I pulled up another website here, and I'll leave a link to this website as well as the article if you want to read about these other countries. This website is called Vision of Humanity. All right, and you have two areas that you can pick on here. One is the Global Peace Index, and the other is the Global Terrorism Index. And so I'm quickly here on this website. This is all the data from last year. All right, we are still in the beginning of 2025 here, and so not much has really changed when it comes to these stats. But one interesting fact is when I look at the Global Peace Index and I look at Canada, they claim that Canada is a lot more peaceful than it is here in Serbia. All right, now the way they measure this is the peacefulness of these countries is made up of 23 quantitative and qualitative indicators, each weighed on a scale of 1 to 5. The lower the score, the more peaceful the country. Now, on number 1, they have Iceland. Number 2, they have Ireland. And number 3, they have Austria. At number 11, you have Canada. So they're considering Canada is a pretty peaceful country. But one thing that came to my attention here is where Serbia relates to United States. And this is something that I brought up before. However, I could not actually find any documents when it came to this. But if you look at this, the United States is at 132 on the peaceful list, and Serbia is 54 on this list. So just simply based on this list, Serbia is a lot more peaceful than what United States is. Yet for some reason, we don't have any alerts issued for the United States. Now let's go to the Global Terrorism Index, which is on this same site. And now this one here is a composite measure made up of 4 indicators: incidents, fatalities, injuries, and hostages. When it to measure the impact of terrorism, a 5-year weighted average is applied. And now you have some countries that you would expect in here, but let's go into Canada, for instance, right off the bat. Canada is at 48 out of 163 countries. You have United States at 34 out of 163. But then if you go into Serbia, Serbia is 82. So Serbia weighs below the terrorism index for both Canada and the United States, which means it's actually safer and you'll be less prone to terrorism than you would both of Canada and the United States, which is something that many people would be surprised. And as someone who comes from Canada, Canada used to be safe, but now with the migrant crisis and the cost of living, there's a lot more robberies. There's a lot more, domestic issues. There's a lot more child abductions there, and murders that are happening all over the cities in Canada. And some of these cities were once a peaceful city that never experienced any sort of issues when it comes to what they're trying to say here about Serbia in a lot of these articles. You have a lot of mafia activity in Canada. You have a lot of hooliganism in Canada as well. And I would actually beg to differ is when you see some of these sports teams win in Canada, in the United States, a lot of the citizens of those two countries, Canada and the United States, create complete havoc on the streets. They're breaking business windows, they're turning cars over, they're setting businesses on fire. You don't see that here in Serbia. Yeah, maybe the venue itself is pretty rowdy, but as a average, that Serbia is pretty calm when it comes to that. So I wanted to touch on that, especially now that we're ramping into the tourism season. We're getting a lot of people actually looking to relocate to Serbia from all across the world, Australia. We just moved in a couple here from Holland. We're looking at helping an individual with his wife coming in from Malaysia. We got a couple people that are coming in from my hometown actually in Ontario, and he's been living in Mexico for a number of years and decided, hey, listen, Mexico isn't what it once was, and we feel safer in Serbia. And his wife is actually from there as well, and she feels Serbia is a lot safer as well. And a couple other places that we've never thought we'd had clients. So we appreciate each and every one of you that has reached out to us here at Relocation Serbia, taken us upon our services, and trusted us with your move into Serbia. And I want to also thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.